It is time. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to stand up. It's time for Christians to come together to share their testimony. It's time for us to inspire hope in others and join our brothers and sisters as we answer the call. Folks, it's time. It's time to wake up the lions. And I have a lion with me today who has a fantastic and profound message for everyone, and is here to deliver that very thing. I'm really looking forward to what this man has to say today. I think you will too. I am already resonating with it, and I'm sure you will as well. Please welcome to the program, Bob Sweetman. How are you doing, Bob?
Good, thanks. Good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, not at all. It's my pleasure. You've got a great story, and you're on a great mission that I really, really, really support. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. As we kind of dive into all of this, though, tell our listeners, who is Bob? What are you about? What brings you here today, brother?
Okay. Yeah. So back in 2015, I had a very profound dream. Before that time, I was your average Christian man. I went to church on Sunday and I did what I had to do and so forth. But this dream was about um, I saw a crypt and inside, behind the bars of the crypt, were silhouettes of a young man and a young woman. I perceived that to be my son and my daughter. And I cried out in anguish, God, what can I do? And because I felt that they were, that was symbolized that they were far from the love of God. And I heard a voice behind me, which I was made to believe was the voice of God. And it said, you can help clear the water. And immediately I looked down and I was ankle deep in water, but the water was glowing with a golden hue and was stagnant. Um, and I moved down to through this stream to uh, what what looked like an ocean, but the ocean was, and there was a huge, um, like a sun in on the horizon, and the sky was orange and red, and that light was shining off the waves on this ocean, and I, I think I think I saw what John described in the Apocalypse and Revelation as a sea of fire and ice. So I kind of understood that. So I mean, that was kind of seared into me. And I can still remember that was back in 2015. I can still remember every single detail of that dream. So I didn't know what to do with it. I kind of mulled it over. I finally went and talked to my pastor, and she suggested that I enroll in the church. The Episcopal Church has a 4-year program called Education for Ministry. And so I enrolled in that, and I went through that. The first year is about the Old Testament. The second year is the New Testament, and that's I mean we studied this in detail, and I read really for the first time in my life in detail for comprehension the Sermon on the Mount, and it's kind of like wow, you know, there is a lot of stuff in here. Um, and then the third year was dealt with the history of Christianity from the development from Jesus' crucifixion all the way up to the present time. And the
Hmm.
thing that struck me when I was studying that was just how explosive the growth was in the first 100 years or so after the death of Jesus. And really the surprising thing to me was that there was really no belief set, no dogma that existed then. It was all about what you need to do to live a life pleasing to God. And that was what was eventually called the way. So um, I went through my my wife of 44 years died of cancer, and I just didn't know what to do. It finally hit me then that I needed to write a book about this simple yet powerful way of reaching God, which which they called the way. So that's what I set out to do.
Nice. Robert, or Bob, first, let me just say I'm sorry for your loss,
Thank you.
profoundly. I know that that could not have been easy. And congratulations, however, on writing the book
Thank
called
you.
The Way, like you said. Um, Also, I mean, for a dream, a vision, that type of thing, to be 10 years old and still be that vivid. Um, Sounds like, and I'm guessing that you feel this way, that you believe you were called in that moment.
I do. Yes,
Absolutely. Absolutely. The book, The Way, from what I understand, it's based, at least in part, on the actual Sermon on the Mount then.
correct. Yeah, what I did, I started off um, with a kind of a background. I talked about what I called the old way, um, the the belief set of the Jewish people prior to Jesus, uh, how it was a what's called transactional theology, meaning you do something for me and I'll do something for you. Um, and by the time of Jesus, they had developed a total of 613 mitzvot or commandments that you were obligated to follow. Um, and then Jesus came along and he changed the message completely to a message of love and loving God and loving your neighbor. And I talked about that, kind of introduced the Sermon on the Mount, and I went into um, each one of the sections on the Sermon on the Mount and kind of tried to describe it and bring it to context of what it means to those of us living here in the 21st century. Um, and you know, each one of the Beatitudes, and then there's sections on piety and uh, uh, what I call standards for living and so forth. So, kind of all laid out, trying to explain what it all means in simple terms. So, someone that is interested in following the way can take it step by step.
I love that, and I love that you're singling that out. The Sermon on the Mount, the Sermon on the Mount in that book of Matthew, chapters 5, 6, 7.
6, 7, yeah,
Okay, right. Um, that is, I mean, that obviously has profound significance to you.
it does.
Were you led to that passage, or was there something about that section that and that event that really struck you?
Yeah, I wasn't really led so much as when I read it and really read it deeply because we would read these things and then we discuss it in a meeting. Um, and I was familiar with it, but I never really had that kind of um, deep understanding. But when I got into it, dug into it, it's kind of like this is really important. Um, and that's kind of when I guess that formed the groundwork for ultimately what I did by writing the book.
Nice. Now, you and I talked in the pre-interview a little bit about what you called the nuns,
Right.
Nones.
Right.
Um, Tell me about that, what that means to you, how you're trying to serve that.
Yeah. Well, they've done a lot of research and polling and so forth, and the nun, a nun is a person who may be spiritual or believe in God, but just can't connect with any of the religions that are available. Um, and those are the folks, I believe, with with what is coming. Those are the folks that really need to be presented with something that they can connect to, which will lead them back to the life of God.
Nice. Well, I can't let that last part go. What is it that you believe is coming?
Well, I think that there is going to be a a time when we all have to make a choice, make a decision. Um, and I don't know what it looks like. There's lots of things on YouTube and whatever. And different pastors have their own different take on it. But there's there's something coming, and we all are going to have to say yes or no to God. And I want to make sure that my children, the children, excuse me, of their generation, and all the children of the world make the right decision.
Yeah, I understand that. I don't blame you for thinking that. The I have said several times in this podcast and in other venues that I also believe that the time is coming where people have to pick a side. Yeah,
Right.
for sure. And that there's folks who talk about the end of days and things like that. But there's such an incredible group of young lions out there that are unapologetic in their faith, and that group is growing, by leaps and bounds right now.
That's
Um,
a good thing.
yeah, it really is, and so I think that there's an army being built. I really do,
Okay.
and so I think you're right about that. That there's going to come a time when you have to pick a side. Yeah, for sure. The When you wrote the book, The Way, is it written for these folks that are sort of disconnected out there? And in addition to that, someone else? I mean, who is the target of the book?
Yeah. Well, primarily I wrote it for the nuns, but I know I've had people um, that that are religious that have read the book and have told me that this really opened their eyes as far as what their religion meant. So I think it's useful for both types of people.
Right. Is it in terms of the purpose of the book and what you hope to accomplish with the book? What is it that you truly hope happens when people read this book, and especially when the nuns read this book?
Yeah, I hope that they will start to think about what it means to live a life pleasing to God and actually start making some changes in their life to to put them along the way.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
that's the important thing to me. And it's not about creating a new denomination. It is getting these folks to change their direction and start moving in the direction towards God.
Nice. So there is no in particular destination that, you're hoping for or anything, as long as it's just somehow connecting back, no matter
Right.
what
Yeah.
denomination it might be.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about denominations.
Right. Okay.
And I say in the book, towards the end, to go out and shop around, find something that you can connect to. Just in my opinion, there's no right or wrong. It's just, whatever works for you. And, and there are differences in denominations. Like you go from one church to another church, the same denomination, and things can be different. And one might work for you, and the other might not. So, yeah.
Nice. Nice. You've done a lot of research on this, and you've kind of studied the quote, nuns. It sounds like, and kind of gotten the background in what you've learned, and in your opinion, frankly, with all the work you've done. What is it that leads people to sort of fall into the category of nuns? What leads people to be disconnected in that fashion?
Yeah, that's a good question. And there doesn't seem to be one particular answer. In some cases, excuse me, they grew up in a household that really wasn't too terribly religious. Um, in other cases, they had some bad experience uh, with the church that they were associated with. Um, in other cases, they just uh, their parents or their friends or whatever were atheists, and they kind of went along with the crowd. So yeah, there doesn't seem to be, like I said, there doesn't seem to be any one single reason why the nuns have ended up where they are.
Hmm. Okay. The um, One of the things I love about what you're doing when it comes to the nuns, especially, is it's a type of outreach to these folks,
Correct.
and you're extending a branch, saying, it doesn't matter why you left, just consider coming back,
Right. That's
right?
exactly. Yeah.
Now, from what I can see, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this, but from what I can see, from where I have, my experience, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of that going on. In terms of outreach to people who used to believe and are now disconnected, there's more of a judgment on those folks. Like, hey, you're bad because you're no longer here.
You're going to hell. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, what led you, first of all, what led you to do an outreach to these folks? And how can, our churches and things get better at that?
Right. Yeah. Well, my children, I think would qualify as nuns.
Okay.
And that's something that bothers me. Um, and so one of the reasons that I wrote this book was for them, but also, I have friends whose children are the same, and I know friends of mine that have bought my book and given it to their children, and hopefully getting them to at least find a spark that would ignite the fire inside. Um, but I think getting this message to as many people as possible is important. And that's one of the reasons that I'm doing podcast. And for your listeners who are already Lions, if they know people who would qualify as nuns, then maybe getting them this message would build the fire in them.
Yeah, for sure. When you and I were first talking about you possibly coming on the podcast, I was looking into your book, and kind of checking it out a little bit, and it occurred to me that your book can be used as a pretty effective tool for the lions out there that are building discipleships, that are trying to, spread the word and also reach out to the nuns, so to speak.
Right.
Um, are you, in terms of how you're promoting the book? I mean, certainly going on podcasts, a great idea, guesting and that type of thing. Are you promoting it in that way as a tool to use for people who want to build their own?
Yes, got a I've got a website. I also um, post on Facebook and Instagram
Hmm,
to try to get that message out. Yeah, and
excellent.
yeah, I do a I do a weekly not podcast blog that I post on my website uh,
Excellent.
concerning various topics that are germane to this ministry.
Nice. One of the things that I always ask people is, how are they, doing their part to build discipleship? You obviously wrote a book. trying to do that too, which assists you in that endeavor. But I didn't know about the blog. I mean, pardon me for poor research, but I love that. I'm glad to hear that. What sort of information? What could someone to expect when they, look up your blog and they read that?
Yeah, what I try to do is keep it relatively short, but looking at various topics I think that a nun would be drawn to. Um, one of the topics that seems to be the most popular is called Finding the Way Back, and it um, the talks about the woman at the well and how that is um, a subject or a model for for a person to find their way back.
Hmm. Nice, nice, and that's available through your website then.
That is available through my website.
Okay,
It's
excellent,
godpleasingway.com.
excellent. All right, I like that. This is great. I love that you wrote this book and that you're doing this with this. Um, the what else can you tell folks about the Sermon on the Mount that maybe they don't know, or that might get them a little more interested in not only reading the book, but looking into maybe the Book of Matthew, to kind of get them back involved.
Yeah. Well, I think first off, the Sermon on the Mount, I don't think there's any other place in the four Gospels where the it's laid out um, on a really a step by step basis of how you should lead a God pleasing life. And that's to me that's the most important message. Um, the Beatitudes are a step by step plan for for transforming yourself from a ego driven inward looking personality to an outward uh, focused personality of love of God and neighbor. And
Mm,
there's other sections that kind of talk about specific topics about how you should handle these specific issues. Uh, and then ends up with a summary parable where Jesus talks about building on rock versus building on sand. Uh, and by inference, he's saying you should build your house on the words that I've given you rather than on the words of the world.
nice, nice, nice. Um, you clearly wear your faith on your sleeve, and I don't think anybody would come in contact with you and not understand that you're, devoted to your faith. Do you run into any sort of, blowback on that? Any sort of, issue with being a faith-led, man who wrote a book?
Yeah. Um, not really. The only thing that I've negatives I've come across is some people that say, "Oh, I really don't believe in that," or that's I disagree with what you're saying here. Um, I, I mean, that's okay. It's that's fine. Like I said, there's if you go on Google and ask how many Christian denominations there are, it tells you there's 45,000 throughout the world and 200 here in the United States. So, you're going to get differences of opinion, and I mean that's okay. The important thing is the linkage to God,
Sure.
and that's kind of what I'm trying to do. Hopefully, it'll be successful. If I get one person, then then I've kind of done my job, right?
Nice. Whenever I talk to people who have taken lessons from the Bible, especially, and tried to sort of create practical application into the world, with them, oftentimes there's blowback or criticism from within Christian leadership, for instance, and this church over here might not like that someone interpreted something this way. Have you had any blowback or anything like that from folks who are card carrying Christians?
Yes, Yes, I have.
And that's what I mean. That's so crazy. Do you mind sharing any of
It's, I've had people that agreed um, to review my book, and I send them a copy of it, and radio silence. You know, I get shunned because you said something in there that I don't believe in. Um, so anyway, but like I said, it's uh, it's okay. Everybody has their beliefs and their way of looking at this subject, so
that?
I can accept that.
Do you find that we as Christians are standing in our own way very often?
Without ticking people off, I would say yes. I think that we tend, a lot of us tend to stick to uh, what our faith tradition teaches, and if somebody doesn't do it exactly the same way, then we kind of make a decision. Um, we judge them
Hmm.
based on that. And like Jesus has told us in the sermon, we should discern rather than judge. Um, but I think, yeah, that's that's something that I've seen happen,
Hmm.
and needs to be it needs to be less of that. Let's put it that way.
I appreciate your candor. I do, and your honesty. You're doing something that I think is quite noble and clearly that you've been called to do, and that I think is also productive. You're giving practical application to, a way to live a godly life, according to parameters that Jesus set out for everybody. It's written right into the Bible. So, um, and all you're doing is drawing attention to that, and
Yeah,
saying, hey, this isn't just pie in the sky. Here's how this applies to your real life. Um,
exactly.
in
Yeah,
my mind, that would bring, people closer to Jesus and not the other way around.
right. Yes.
Yeah. All right. I'm guessing that was part of your purpose.
My belief. Yeah, that's right.
Right. All right. Bob, I love what you're doing here. If you could, you've written the book to obviously, put the message out there. If you could send a message right now on this podcast to anyone who's considered a nun, okay, someone who is disconnected. They used to believe, they really don't anymore for whatever reason. They may be a little lost, and maybe they're trying to find their way back. If you could give any message out to those folks, what would that message be?
Yeah, I would say um, that God loves you. God wants you back. Um, like the um, like in the Gospel of Luke, where the prodigal son um, hurt his father and moved away and blew all the money that his father gave him. His father still wanted him back, and as he came back, his father saw him when he was a long way away. That means the father was waiting for him, looking for him every day to return. And God is the same way. God wants you to come back. It's just like the prodigal son. It's one step at a time. And um, one way to do that is to look at the message that the way provides.
Nice. No, I love that. Um, as as lions who are trying to build the kingdom and are going to be reaching out to people. Some of them are nuns. Some may never have believed before, and you're presenting yourself hoping that they believe now. But as the lions go out and they try to spread the word, um, what advice do you have for them in reaching out to either the nuns or to folks who have never really believed? How can how can they best build their own discipleships? What recommendation might you have for them?
Yeah. I would recommend not to oversell it. Some folks can come on really strong as far as their message. Um, it's kind of like you need to read the individual person and where they're at, both faith wise and in their life, and kind of figure out how you can tailor the message to them, um, that's not going to drive them away or you know make them feel worthless, but provide um, a method, a path to to come back to God.
Nice. Nice. I appreciate that. I do. That's one of the things that we work on here a lot is trying to support that movement,
Hmm.
trying to, get the word out to people and trying to reconnect, very often through simply showing our own faith and, living by example, that
Right.
kind of thing, which you clearly are doing. And I appreciate
Trying.
you for it. I really do. I really, really do. How long has the book been out?
It came out in late 2024,
Oh,
um,
okay. Not long ago.
November 2024.
Okay,
Yeah.
excellent. What's been some of the reaction, so far to it? I mean, outside of the couple things we talked about where somebody doesn't like one of the sentences.
Yeah. No, I've had a lot of great comments. People that have bought it, and have read it have really been uh, really been positive about the contents and how it helped them in their own spiritual growth.
Beautiful. So is there a second one in the making on its way out?
I don't know. I'm waiting for another dream. No pressure,
That's
God.
that's fair. Watch out now, because you may have just called that down.
Yeah,
I love it. I absolutely love it. All right. So Bob, again, I know you've got a website. Tell everybody again, how can they find you? How can they find the book? How can they find out more about, your movement?
yeah. The book is on Amazon. And it's called The Way, and my website is godpleasingway.com. You can reach me through the website, um, or my email is Bob Sweetman author at godpleasingway.com. And I'd love to hear from anybody that has questions.
Wonderful. No, I appreciate that. All of that information will be in our show notes. We'll make sure that that's accessible. We'll put a link to the book in there, the whole 9 yards. So, want to do everything
Perfect.
we can to help, further this and get people to read it. So,
Great.
yeah, congratulations again on writing the book, and I applaud your mission and everything that you're doing. And thank you so much, Bob, for coming on the show today and sharing what you did.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you very much for having me. I really, really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely, it's my pleasure. Folks, Bob Sweetman, author of The Way. Check it out, look it up, uh, go see it, and pay attention. Use it as a tool. The reason that we need to do things like this, the reason we have to take advantage of tools like this when they come to us, is because, folks, it is time. It's time to wake up the lions, and more than that, it's time for you to take your rightful place with your brothers and sisters and let them hear you roar. The world's ready. The time's coming, and you're ready too. Believe it.